Our next speaker is Mark Dusk. He's an art director, designer, and illustrator living in Portland, Oregon. He is currently a partner at Arms and Anchors, where he is emboldened by Dungeons and Dragons. So thank you, Mark. Of course.
Hey guys, I'm Mark, and like he said, I'm a designer and an illustrator. I started illustration and design about 9th grade, and around 11th grade I realized that I could pursue it as a career. I had moved to Montana mid-high school and wound up taking classes with this guy named Russell Walks, and he was a freelance illustrator working on films like Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and all sorts of stuff. He really expanded my horizons and got me really excited and pumped about what I could do with my life. Of course, there's so much to do in the world, and you gotta pick a direction. But you don't have to do it right away. There's tons to explore. I ended up going to college down in Georgia, Savannah College of Art and Design, in pursuit of a design career. And I started making lots of cool stuff. Now I have just opened up a company called Arms and Anchors. We are a small design studio creating identities for brands and different companies, websites, apps, books, films, objects, digital experiences, and all sorts of fun stuff. And so I'm just going to take you through a couple of the projects that I've worked on recently and hope you enjoy. So this is a type design called Rant. It's my first go at creating a font, and I used it, or I created it in Adobe Illustrator and then took it into a program called Font Lab, where I was able to create all of the letter forms in a unified system. Here's just some fun spreads of it. Here you can kind of see the geometry I'm using. So I created a grid, and I used golden ratio math to figure out what the different widths would be, and all the stroke weights with this typeface are actually identical. So this makes it a monolinear typeface. And the struggle with that is the spaces in the lowercase letters. And generally, you'll, even in a monolinear typeface, have the stroke weights varying, and this font does not do that, which is sort of making it a little bit different from others that exist. And here's a full character set. So this was a fun first attempt, and there's still much more to do. Sometimes I work on films. Earlier last year, I was approached about a short film for a space movie. And there was all sorts of fun stuff to do, like creating my own language for the film, and branding the film, giving it sort of a face, bringing it to life, creating the story with imagery before I'd even seen the film and only read a preview of the script. So this film was about a man who was about to be launched into space and relocated to a different planet. And I was told that, and the suspense in the movie is sort of building up as all these things are going wrong before he is launched or exploded, and it kind of ends open-ended. You don't really know if he makes it or not. There's also some funny things about the film, like you'll notice a little rat up in the top. There's a hole in the spaceship, and so I tried to throw in some of those characteristics into this single poster illustration. I drew the illustration with like pen and ink. I took it into Adobe Illustrator program and turned all of the line into vectors, which means I can size them at any scalability. And then I took it into Photoshop and I digitally shaded it. So this is the language that was invented called the Universal Codex, which is sort of the common language of the era. And Theta was one of the cheaper, big space lines. Some patches that were in the movie. Postcards. And they did some promotional stunts to promote the movie throughout Austin, Texas, where it was being filmed, and they printed these out and stuck them in a bunch of different newspapers. And this one actually, it actually says something. I made up a whole story about solar flares destroying satellites, and if you wanted to translate it, you could. And we sent the font out to people that helped fund the project through Kickstarter, and so people could actually download and use the font themselves. So more recently, this is my first attempt at a game design. This is a variation of chess that I had an idea one day, and there was a while where I was just coming up with different game ideas every day, little ones, and sometimes they were good and usually they were bad. And this one was pretty interesting, and what happens in the game is you actually can end up with multiple kings. I don't know how many of you play chess, but if you play chess, you know you only have one king, and when that king is in checkmate, you lose. Well, this was a fun twist, and so I met up with a developer and I put some designs down. And so this game's in development, and you'll be able to download it on your iPhone for free one day, I hope. So all of this was created in Adobe Illustrator. I used a lot of Adobe software for this stuff. Adobe Photoshop. Some posters. And a rule book that'll be printed. So each piece is assigned a value, and when they combat, they exchange a value. And so designing this was really fun because it was really from the beginning to the end. And this is the kind of project I love to do. Last summer, I did a 48-hour film project here in Portland. Our team actually won Best of Portland, and we went on to LA to be showing the film in Hollywood and competing internationally. The film was a time travel genre, and so this character, who was Dale Bounder, was essentially a detective who would go back in time or forward in time to solve a problem for a client, but really he was not the best guy and didn't really try to solve anything at all. But in the credits, we were able to capture that space and time travel, having these letters separate and come together, moving toward and away from you, with very contrasting imagery. And we sort of created the world using different little assets in the film, like we made business cards for his desks. We threw them into photos in time. Here he is with Elvis and Richard Nixon, JFK. So this is Arms and Anchors, and this is the company I just started. And this is my team. Currently, we're doing some cool projects for Intel, and we're doing some cool projects for a number of clients. But one we recently finished up was for a company here in Portland called NSI. They're a technology company, and they do some of the coolest stuff on the planet for a bunch of clients I can't tell you, but you would know all of them, and the technology that these guys create is touched every single one of your lives. Basically, they take gas, chemicals, and liquids, and they put them into an ampule, and they deliver that gas and chemical. And it's a bunch of techie stuff. It's pretty cool, but they use crystals and all sorts of stuff. So we decided to take the gas and chemical and the liquid and use some engineering symbols and combine them into this circular symbol. which now represents their company. And there's a lot of different there's different variations of the logo. So this one's for larger format. And there's lots of cool geometry going on in there. Here's a shot of what the initial brand concept looked like. Really got them excited about it. And now we're working on their website. And this isn't up yet. So this gets into the whole experience of everything, the digital experience, and how to take a user through the story of the brand and really create a narrative around the company. Here's just some screenshots of how the interaction will work. A contact page. Just start typing search. We're filming a cool video for them right now that'll be featured on their website. Some lab coats. A lot of experimenting with line illustration work and photography and some of their brand assets. Well, are there any questions? Yeah, in the future. At the moment, we're not really looking to hire since we're only a couple months old.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And then, what degrees would you suggest, like, to get, like, if someone wanted to work for your company, what degrees would you look for?
Well, as we move forward, we're a design studio, so generally and typically we'll be looking for people that are in some field of design or visual communications degree. So motion designers, graphic designers, illustrators, these are the type of people we'll probably hire on. Also, we might be working with in-house developers or filmmakers. So a lot of the creative arts will come into play with our company, yeah. Any other questions?
How do you get your company out there and start working with companies like Intel? Like, how do you network?
A lot of our networking was brought in from freelance gigs. We all came together as freelancers, so we already had a lot of connections set, and a lot of our stuff so far has been word of mouth. Now we'll be doing promotional campaigns, and we'll be cold calling people, and we'll be going out to different events and meeting people. But our site's actually going live later today or tomorrow, so this week's been kind of crazy, and then we'll start promoting on social media. We'll be all over Facebook and Instagram and you name it, Twitter. We'll be all over that. We'll be sending out emails to current clients and past clients, and just asking people to get us out there. And that's been how we've been bringing a lot of it in. Yeah.
What artists would you say have influenced you the most?
Artists that have influenced me the most? I would say Stefan Sagmeister is probably one of the most influential designers. I had a pleasure of meeting him just this past year at a talk he gave in Portland. I would say illustration-wise, H.R. Geiger, Albrecht Dürer, who was from the Renaissance period, who does some of the earliest and most incredible prints and line work and woodblock cuts. They're some of my favorites too. Yeah.
Good. So let's see, in there you mentioned Illustrator, Photoshop, app design, video design, website design. So what's your favorite?
What's my favorite? Ooh. Well, one of my favorite things about this career path is that I can access all these different different avenues of creativity. I love working in Photoshop and Illustrator as much as I love working in After Effects, making motion designs and films. I'd say I'm not a coder, so going into, say, Coda 2 or Dreamweaver, any of those applications is not my side of things, but I think I have a deep passion for illustration, which I didn't share a lot of illustration with you, but I actually, I do a lot of digital painting, and I've been getting hired for a lot of that lately and just doing that for fun. It was kind of a revelation for me when I first took a web job, actually out here in Beaverton, when I first moved here, and I was hired on as a guy that sits and makes little quick images for emails that are sent out, and they said, hey, our digital painter just quit, could you give it a go? And I said, I've never really digitally painted before, I've done traditional illustration, and they said, well sure, just give it a try please. And they set down a monitor in front of me called a Cintiq by Wacom, and I was able to paint directly onto it, and I kind of just nailed it on the first try, just being comfortable with Photoshop. And then I became their digital painter on top of a number of other things, and that kind of led me down a path with digital illustration, which I am excited to explore more in the future.
When is the first time you started illustrating?
When was the first time I started illustrating? I'd say I started illustrating when I was really young. I was always drawing pictures. I was drawing pictures before I could talk. Not that I was good before I could talk, but I certainly loved to draw. And the more I drew and the more I worked at it, the better I got. And by the time when I started high school, I was not very good. And by the time I had ended, working with Russell Walks was a huge, huge help for me to build some of my illustration skills. And I was working in graphite and charcoal and exploring all sorts of different types of mediums. And I did that through the first bit of college as well. So I'd say I've been illustrating my whole life.
So did you go to school for illustration?
No, I went to school for graphic design. I did take some illustration courses when I was there, though.
Yeah, what is an average work day for you? Like an average day on the job?
An average day on the job for me right now is kind of insane. Before, I kept pretty decent hours. Not that it was ever really a 9-to-5 situation for me as a freelancer. My average day was split up how I wanted it, and sometimes I would work through the night and when the inspiration came, and sometimes I would work 9 in the morning till 5 at night. Sometimes I'll work from 2 a.m. to 5 a.m., take a nap, wake up at 9 a.m. and work to 9 p.m. I mean, the days vary for me. Currently, an average work day is much different, and for the past, I'd say 5 months, I've been working mostly 14-hour days, and I work every day, and that's because starting a company really takes everything you've got to make it happen. I don't have an average work day. I get hit with so many things I never expected because I didn't get a business degree. I got a design degree, and I'm an artist trying to run a company. So it's been a huge lesson for me. And all this stuff that I've been learning just about managing a company, as overwhelming as it is also one of the biggest and best lessons I've had so far. Yesterday, I woke up at 7 a.m. I had a number of projects to curate since our site's launching. And a client that we have been working with just said to us, you can't use this project on your website, when 2 weeks ago he had agreed. So we spent 2 weeks curating a project for a website that's launching today, and we can't use it, so we're scrambling to curate 2 more projects. Also on top of that, of course, the day that you want to launch your website, there's going to be a ton of bugs. There's going to be just a bunch of things that need to be fixed, and getting it to work across all these different platforms. We have, our phones, our computers, what's it going to look like on a television, what's it going to look like on all these different screens and different devices. And figuring all that out is basically us sitting with our developers in a video chat conference going back and forth, this isn't working, this is working, help, help, help. So a lot of my average work days this past week have been more like that. And on top of that, still meeting with our clients on pretty regular basis, pretty regular meeting schedules, and going over projects and having, stuff due to show them and walk through with them. I don't have an average work day. Yeah.
How did you get so good at what you do?
Practice. Lots of practice. I wasn't good when I started, and I still think I have a long way to go, as we always get better and better at what we're doing. But honestly, just loving it is how I spent so much time doing it, and pursuing it is how I got better and better at it. Yeah.
So, do you ever, like, drawing for some, like, a paid gig, do you ever find yourself, like, they want you to do something that you don't really, want, they want you to take it in a direction you don't exactly want to take it in? Do you ever find yourself, frustrated at that?
95% of the time. Yeah, 95% of the time. The client wants this, and I have to try and convince them that they hired me for a reason, and talk them through different solutions. And a lot of times that means showing them what they wanted and what it could be. And when that happens, usually what it could be wins. It just means doing a little bit more work sometimes. I'm really lucky to be working with one of the coolest and easiest clients I've worked with so far. I'm actually, when I leave here, I'm actually going to design a spaceship. It'll be really fun. Ernie Klein is an author who's written a book called, he's writing a book called Armada. He wrote one called Ready Player One, which was just picked up by Steven Spielberg, and that's going to be filming and out on the big screens, in a couple of years. And he's doing a new book that's about to be released. And he contacted me and asked me to do an illustration for the inner book cover jacket for the hardcover Armada first publishing and printing. And so he asked me to design a spaceship drone that's going to be in the ship. And I just got an email from him this morning on my way here saying, "Hey, can you get it to me by tomorrow? Sorry for the last minute notice, but I want to get this off to the publishers right away. I just found out that they need to see it." And so now I'm scrambling to go do that too. But that's going to be fun. Those are the best kind of projects.
Hi, how did you get into freelance work?
Freelance work, that was networking. That was taking jobs I didn't want to take. That was going out and making friends at different places randomly and talking to people and finding out who has the similar interests that I have, who are the creatives, and surrounding myself by those people. And spending time with those people and learning from those people and meeting their friends and being brought into their companies. And then from there, it's just do the best you can, don't screw up, and work hard. And you'll find yourself meeting all sorts of creative industry opportunities. Craigslist too. Thanks.